Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the people have demanded it, and now it's time to deliver. We've got some red-hot sizzling Kings of War 2nd Edition action for you. We've got the forces of the Dwarves, who are looking fairly pacey and speedy over there, with all that cavalry, against the mighty legions of the Goblins. Obviously just come down from their mountain homes to stop this dwarf incursion, which is why there's still a lot of snow around that they've just trampled down into the valley. So, taking me on this evening, we've got the legendary Mr. Rob, the Pathfinder of Doom. So, would you like to talk us through your forces?
Not a lot really to it, actually. We've got 2 units of 10 Brock Riders, a Lord on the Big Bear, 2 units of 5 Brock Riders, and your Berserker on a Brock. You may notice there's a slight theme going on.
Yeah, so that's what we call a themed army, which is very different from a spam army. Very, very different. Over on the Goblin side, we have some Spitters. We have a Whiz. Not liking these names so far. We have some Fleabag Riders. That's a regiment there. We have the Giant. Get a nice look at this guy, because he's quite big and menacing. Then we have some Sharp Sticks in a horde with a dead horse on their base. We have a King. We have a horde of Trolls. And then we have some more Spitters on the other hill. So, this is just over 1,000 points, we decided. It's about 1,015 points per side-ish. So, let's see who's going to come out on top. And over on the other side of the table, you may see that there's a lovely paperback Kings of War rulebook, the Gamers Edition, full of Kings of War goodness. And then, oh, what's this as well? A hardback Kings of War rulebook, full of even more juicy Kings of War goodness.
And
well, yeah, and the background for the game. But sadly, these aren't mine, because apparently the private jet that was chartered to carry all the official A-list copies of the Kings of War rulebook must have been delayed at some international airport. Been some kind of security issues, so mine hasn't arrived yet. Which is unfortunate, but it's nice to see the Pathfinders are getting their books nice and early. They do need them after all. Let's just hope the A-list shipment isn't too far behind. Okay, well, it's been an action-packed turn 1 for the Goblins. Everything advanced up just a little bit, being careful to stay out of charge range of that Badger cavalry horde yonder. There was quite a bit of shooting. The Whiz unleashed a lightning bolt at that lone guy there and failed to do anything. The Spitters on the hill here had to move a tiny little bit to get in range, which cost them because it meant they didn't do any damage to those wonderful Badger riders there. And over at this side, these Spitters did the same thing, but they actually did manage to inflict 2 points of damage onto that unit there. But there was no point rolling their nerve test because they're immune to the effects of wavering. So, and that was all that could be achieved. So, it's over to the Dwarves for turn 1. Let's see how they can respond to that preliminary bombardment. Well, you thought the Goblin turn was an action-packed emotional rollercoaster ride. Check out this Dwarf turn. They've all moved forward, being careful to stay out of much of the charge range. They weren't able to stay out of the Fleabag Rider charge range, so we'll see whether that comes back to bite them or not. But everything's just moved forward, basically. That's all they can do. They don't have any ranged attacks, so they really want to get mixing it up ASAP. Okay, turn 2, and it's starting to get juicy now. Let's start over on this side. The Spitters did another point of damage onto those cavalry, but still not enough to worry about getting rid of them, because they're very, very durable, apparently. Over here, though, we got some nice double charge action, but I'll get to that in a second, because the Whiz fired a lightning bolt into that unit there, didn't do anything, missed with them all. Now this is where it got really tasty. Fleabag Riders and the Giant combo charged that single unit of 5 there. The Giant did a big pile of damage on them, with all his various rules. He's a bit of a beast. The Fleabag Riders did more damage on them. And then on the first roll, on their nerve, would have completely annihilated them, but their little friend down there is inspiring. So inspiring, in fact, that on the re-roll of their nerve, despite the +1 for the Giant being there, it failed by 1 to erase them. So that could be quite critical to the game, because now they're going to be able to do some serious damage in conjunction with all their chums around here. I was really gambling on annihilating that unit and came very close. So we'll see whether that comes back to bite me. Dwarf turn 2, and Mr. Giant paid the price for not quite finishing off that unit last turn, because it left it wide open for him to be charged by that unit and that dude down there. They double charged him, did so much damage that he just fell over and died. So that's unfortunate. And these Fleabag Riders took 5 points of damage, but the nerve roll was enough to leave them wavering, which is what that's representing right now. It went a little better over here. This combat here, with his general charging in there on the sharp sticks, only did 3 damage, so not enough to do anything. And over here, the trolls just survived. They did take 9 points of damage. They survived the nerve test from this unit here, because they were just within 6 inches of the king, who forced a re-roll, and they're fine. Same can't be said for the spitters that were on this hill. They got completely eaten up, which is not very nice indeed. So 2 goblin units dead. Let's see if all my counter charges can actually do something. There's not going to be one over there. Let's see if I can achieve something over here, I think. Maybe turn the battle in my favour on this side. Goblin turn 3. It was pretty uneventful over here, because these guys were wavered, so we can get rid of that now. Not anymore. The Wiz moved over here, try and get to a bit of safety so no one could charge him. He attempted a lightning bolt, but missed again. He's not had much luck with that so far. I may have to buy him some more spells next time. Here, the Spitters fired at that unit and did nothing. Over here, the Sharp Sticks, 30 attacks, a ton of hits, but they couldn't get through that guy's impenetrable defense of 6, even with 12 hits. So, not looking good for them. Although they haven't taken much damage yet. The Trolls, miraculously, with their 5+ regeneration, regenerated most of the damage that had been done to them. And then they went and inflicted 8 points of damage onto the Dwarfs. It's not enough to worry them at this stage. The King charged into the flank of this unit, but of course he doesn't get a bonus for that because he's an individual. And he failed to do anything. So, not a whole lot was achieved, apart from some damage on them. I have a feeling the counter-charging from the Dwarves is going to be quite devastating in a minute, though. Wouldn't be surprised if those Fleabags and the Trolls end up getting smushed this turn. So, we'll see. Well, Dwarf turn 3 and my worst fears have been realised. The Fleabags, who were wavered, were unable to fight back. Double-charged. Death. Over here, the Trolls, which had already taken a bit of damage. Double charge. Death. That regeneration from last time couldn't help them, so these dwarves have turned round to face the king. These ones looking menacingly into the goblins, who are wavered. They didn't take too much damage against these 2 dwarf characters, but there was a good roll for the nerve, and they're too far away from the inspiring presence of the king. So, unfortunately, they are wavered. And it's not looking too healthy for the goblins. There are a couple of dwarf units that have some damage on them, so maybe I'll be able to kill something off in this turn with a bit of shooting. We'll see. This side was looking like the stronger side, but it's going to collapse now, I think. And I've probably got more confidence over here, oddly enough, because the Wiz is quite mobile, so we should be able to avoid the charges of those units for a bit. The lightning bolt from the Wiz, which finally did something, did a bit more damage on that unit there, and they failed the nerve test because they'd just taken an accumulation of damage over the game. It would have been nice if they'd failed that in the second turn, I think it was. That would have been very handy. Over here, the Sharp Sticks couldn't really do anything, due to being wavered this turn, and the King charged in there and did a single point of damage to this unit, putting them up to 4, still not enough to really worry them. I think this unit took some shots from the Spitters.
2 points.
Yep, nothing significant though, so they're going to be fine for now. And I have a feeling it could all come crumbling down in this turn for the Goblins. I'm sure they'll have something left at the end of the turn. How much is up for debate. Okay, I was right. Something did survive the turn. Let's start over here. These dwarfs charged into the Spitters on the hill, squashed them into a pulp. The Wiz got squashed into a pulp by this guy. Very ferocious looking, isn't he? Over here, the King got squashed into a pulp, by this gigantic unit. Just sheer weight of numbers did him in. Now, wrap your eyeballs around this. 30 points of damage accumulated on this unit. They have a nerve of 19 and 21. So, after all that massive damage from these multiple units, it came up with a double 1 on their nerve roll. So, despite most of them being just butchered and horribly demoralised, they're standing firm. I think there's maybe one of them hiding under that dead horse. So he's not scared at all. Dwarves on all sides. This unit, if it takes one more hit, it's basically going to die. So let's see who they can take out with them in this turn. I have a feeling it could be this unit here, with a nice counter charge. Well, we consulted the rules to make sure they could pivot through another unit in order to counter charge this unit. And it turns out that as long as they can end up clear of the unit, they are able to do so. So that's what they did. They wanted to take this unit out. They did a bit more damage on it. And then with the first roll on the nerve, they would have completely wiped them off the table. But because they're inspired by this guy, who wouldn't be inspired by him? It's all shimmery and metallic. Then on the second roll, it fell just short, so they're still alive. And I have a feeling that something is going to do damage to the goblins in this turn. So, shall we just do a nerve roll for them now to see if they're going to die?
If you want to.
Let's do that live on camera, because it's safe to say they're going to take at least 1 point of damage in the turn. So let's see if it can get another double 1. No. So, the goblins are going to die. And what a shame. But that only took about an hour. A massed battle fantasy game in an hour. Pretty tasty. I have to say, this dwarf cavalry, knowing how tough they are now, they are quite beastly, aren't they? The trolls and the giant are quite tasty as well. Your average goblins, not so much, but that's what you expect with goblins. I think, had this combat that took place over here, the double charge in the first turn, had that gone my way and I'd been able to pivot to avoid the giant being charged in the flank, that could have helped a lot. I don't think there's too much more I could have done over here, really. Would have been nice to have the support of surviving units from over there. That's unfortunate. Look at all these casualties. Quite a lot, even the mighty giant. And then over there, just a few dwarves died. I did do quite a bit of damage on the other units, but that's another thing to consider. Focusing the damage. Maybe getting some more ranged units, which makes it easier to focus fire than with combat. Maybe a couple of those shooty war machines that goblins have. Might have to whip up 1 or 2 of those. So, tune in next time, ladies and gentlemen, and see if the goblins can rack up their first win. I'd bet the house on it.